And we're back with Alison Wilson, who has just published 2 books around Hold the Phone and how to use our amazing modern technology in a mindful and responsible way. So Alison, before we went to break, you were talking about your journey in life which led to this amazing
starting
research.
all this.
Yeah.
I mean, I ended up very, very sick, allergic to everything with chronic fatigue. So no one could help me. So the only way out of the pit was for me to help myself, to learn what to do. So I started, as I had no energy, I thought logically that a logical place to start is finding out a bit more about energy. And that's started pretty much a lifelong discovery, really, because I continue to learn every day.
Can I just ask, when was this, roughly?
This would have been last century.
Doesn't that ageist?
Oh dear. Okay, let's move on from that.
So
this would have been late 90s.
Late 90s. So about the time that George, who did not know at the time, was his research was starting to
That's
be completed.
yes, ironically enough, yes.
Yeah, okay.
But I wasn't even aware of cell phones or anything like that then.
Yeah.
So I started studying, learning, researching, and I was lucky enough that I was doing that because I met a lot of people, had a lot of information, and then we moved house and my son got very, very sick, or started to get very sick. He was just fading away in front of our eyes, and he started getting headaches and stomach aches, as kids do when they're under stress.
How old would he have been at the time?
He would probably have been something like, probably about 8.
Yeah.
And because I'd already started looking into health, I happened to know someone who just mentioned to me in passing, I was talking about it, they just said, he's not sleeping anywhere near the electric meter box, is he? I mean, what a random thing to say to someone. So I went home, and because I didn't have any of this information and because I knew absolutely nothing, I'd put my son's bed on the wall that was right next to the meter box, right on the other side of the wall. So I moved the bed to the other side of the wall, and he started to get better instantly.
Wow.
Like just instantly. All his aches and pains went, his lethargy went, his colour came back, he started running around and participating. It was instantaneous.
So what did that say for you?
What that showed me is the impact that our homes have on our health. That, you know, we can exercise, we can eat whatever we want, we can take supplements, whatever it is we do to keep healthy. But if we don't have an understanding about the environment in which we spend all our time, so for a kid that's the school and at home, and for an adult that's home and the office often, if we don't understand what's happening in that environment, we can unwittingly expose ourselves to environmental toxins, environmental influences which can literally decimate our health.
Well, actually, that's an interesting time then perhaps for you to talk about, you know, who we are as a biological being.
Yeah, I mean, I think we tend to think of ourselves just as flesh and blood and bones and tendons and component parts. But actually we're much, much more than that. We're a very complex bioelectrical system. And that system functions fully by a series of communicative signals, and if any part of that bioelectrical system is interrupted or distorted, then the system can't function as a whole, and that's when we start to malfunction as humans. And that malfunction, depending upon the environmental influence and depending upon the person themselves, the net result of that can be a physical ailment, a symptom, or it can be behavioural, it can be emotional, it can be mental. Because it's a whole system, it can have many, many different effects. I mean, for example, someone can get anxious and not have any clue that that could be due to an environmental influence. They just think they're anxious or depressed or tired. So it's really important to look at ourselves of beings of energy, of electricity, and the critical thing is not to interrupt that flow, and that can be interrupted and distorted by a really, really heavy source of man-made electromagnetic radiation, as in my son's case.
Yep.
That was such a powerful influence, so close to him for so long, that it overrode his own bioelectricity and caused him physical problems.
So that then led you to study what?
Well, I needed to know more about that.
Yeah.
I couldn't just take that and walk away. I mean, I've had friends who've had children who've been really, really sick. And I was so lucky that I've got goosebumps. I was so lucky that wasn't us, because it was very, very close. And it was only because, I can't believe I'm tearing up at this, it was only because someone had some information that they gave me that his future is, he's an athlete now, he's so fit and strong, and that was just by pure luck. So I felt I needed to learn more, and that's why it's so important to me to pass this information along, because I know that one sentence can change someone's life. If they just have, how simple is it to change a bed from one side of the room to the other? It's not rocket science. Yeah. But you just have to know. Yeah.
This is probably a good time. In Alison tearing up, I actually first met Alison back in 2006 when I had a previous show, Conversations with Robyn, which is all up on YouTube, by the way. And Alison came on the show as a guest. So I've been aware of Alison's journey over the last number of years, and what she's gone through in finding the research and where her heart is, and the number of stories that she's heard over the years as a building biologist and going into to people's homes. So I can absolutely understand the emotion that's coming up for you at the moment, because it's been one heck of a journey to help people.
But I hear story after story after story of something really simple. People who haven't been able to sleep for three, four years, you know, their lives are pretty much intolerable because they're so exhausted. They do something like move their mobile phone, their cell phone from their bedside table, and they start sleeping. Yeah. It's really simple.
Yeah. And basically anyone will tell us that the one room we need to really honour our space is the place we sleep.
Yeah, bedroom's critical.
Why?
Because it's at night that your whole immune system starts rebuilding. As you rest, you repair and rebuild. But it's also at night when you sleep, during nighttime hours. I stress that because it's not quite the same if you're a shift worker and sleeping during the day. If you sleep at night, in the quiet, in a dark place, that's when your body starts producing melatonin, which is the foundation stone of your immune system. Yeah. Anything that interrupts that production of melatonin can affect your health.
Okay, so things like electromagnetic radiation and microwave radiation upsets the natural...
It's actually been shown through scientific studies to it interrupts and depletes the production of melatonin. Yeah.
And again, it's please, we're stressing, this is not about doom and gloom. This is about being able to use this amazing technology, but to do it in a healthy way. Yeah.
But I think it's important to know, if you say to someone, don't have your mobile phone next to you while you sleep, that has a certain effect. If you say to someone, it's a good idea to take your mobile phone away from your sleeping, because it will have an effect on the amount of melatonin you produce, and that's really fundamental to your immune system and your health. Yeah. Then I always believe if someone has a real understanding of why they've been given the information, why a change has been suggested, if you treat people like adults, you don't have to thrash on about doom and gloom, but if you give them the facts, they can make a decision for themselves then with a complete understanding. And I think you find that people are much more likely to stick with changes if they have an understanding of what it's about.
Yeah, okay. Just on that, around the sleeping patterns, and we'll go to a break in a moment, so many people that I speak with, especially a lot of teenagers, they actually sleep with their phone. Of course, in different other countries, they're called smartphones or cell phones. They actually sleep with them under their pillow.
Absolutely.
And they even use them as their alarm clock.
Some of them sleep with them on their chest or held on to them. Or absolutely. Amazingly common, because particularly for teenagers and youth, in many cases they don't want to be out of contact with their social group. Yeah. And many of them text through the night or send photos or whatever, and they don't want to miss out on that. Yeah. So they take their cell phones to bed with them.
We'll take another break and we'll come back and find out more about Hold the Phone.